This changes everything. The Pittsburgh Penguins were decimated by injuries leading in to the Four Nations face-off. Well, get this, they used the break to heal up, and reinforcements are on the way for the black and gold. Some big-name players that are keys to their lineup are going to be back tomorrow against the Washington Capitals as the Penguins look to turn things around and make a late-season run at the postseason. Welcome to Penguins Digest. My name is Remington Kuhn. First and foremost, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Penguins Digest will provide you the latest Pittsburgh Penguins content, whether it's rumors, news, updates, analysis, whatever it may be. We're going to talk about it here on Penguins Digest. So hit that sub button and we will keep you up to date with that daily coverage. Today, we have a few different things to talk about, and it's all good news. We're going to forget about the Four Nations face-off. Canada won. Congrats to Sidney Crosby. But we're not going to talk about that at all because tomorrow the Penguins are returning to the ice and we have Penguins hockey back here on Penguins Digest. Doesn't matter what team you played for in the Four Nations face-off. We're all back on the same side. And first, we got to talk about Evgeni Malkin. Geno will return tomorrow against the Washington Capitals. A big loss for the Penguins when he was not in the lineup, but Geno is finally back, and I am super excited to see him back out there again. This break could not have come at a better time for Evgeni Malkin. I'm going to show you some quotes from Geno here in just a second, but first we're just going to look at the actual reports. The first report said that Geno is 100% and will play for the Penguins on Saturday after a lower body injury kept him out for a little while. Second source here is, according to Sports Illustrated, and there is a actual tweet from Penguins insider Josh Yeo. Geno Malkin said he will play on Saturday, wanted to play in the last two games before the break. So now is the perfect time for me to show you exactly what Evgeni Malkin said. He said, I expected to play in the last game against the Rangers, but it's a little bit dangerous. And I know we had days of break. It helped to recover 100%. So Geno back to 100%. We're going to get to see what that actually means because he has struggled this season. Right now, we just need the best version of Evgeni Malkin. He talked about his season a little bit in this quote. He said it's been a little bit up and down. Me and the team are a little bit in trouble. If the team plays good, everybody plays good. It's the rules. Washington plays good. Ovechkin plays good. It's connected to each other. Of course, I do not feel great about my season and team, but still, it's not over. He says, we have 25 games left. Everything can change quick. If we can win 2, 3, 4 games and make the playoffs, maybe I score 1, 2, 3 goals, and we see after the season. Now, it's a little bit early to talk about the season in my game, but I hope everything will change. Being very optimistic is Evgeni Malkin. His season has been defined by not just injuries, but just struggling. He started off actually really hot in the first few games. Malkin looked terrific for the Penguins, but it didn't last very long, and on the season, he's a -19. So that's something we got to work on here in the second half. We're obviously more than halfway through the season, but being that the Four Nations face-off just happened, it's basically the midway point. It's a little halftime break for our NHL regular season. So there's plenty of time for Geno to turn it around. And I think an important thing to note for Evgeni Malkin is not only was he talking about his injury, but he was talking about his future in Pittsburgh. So we have a lot to say about that as well because he isn't ready to retire. And he reiterated that in a couple different statements after he talked about returning from this injury. The fact that he now feels like he's 100% gave him a good idea of whether or not he's going to continue his career after the season. And Malkin did not hesitate to say he does want to keep playing after this season. He does not plan on retiring this year. He does plan to retire, just not quite yet. So Geno eventually will hang up the skates, as all great players do, but it is not the end of the road for Evgeni Malkin quite yet. He said he won't retire after this season, but also said he will only play for the Penguins. This is my only team, is what Geno said. Very loyal. Very loyal. And then his quote from this, I not retire. I know what some people say, like I go back to Russia and play for my home team. But I never say it, I retire with Pittsburgh. The Penguins are my team. I love this team. When I retire, it's here. And that is something that I love to hear because it's hard to imagine him in another uniform. Him kind of reassuring that fact that he doesn't want to play anywhere else puts the ball in Penguins management's court. If they were willing to trade Evgeni Malkin and actually close the book on this story, I don't know if we could forgive them for that. I've made videos about it in the past talking about how Geno could move on, could get traded somewhere else, could play for a championship caliber team. But that type of statement right there from Malkin tells me everything I need to know. He's not going anywhere. He doesn't want to go anywhere. And if he doesn't want to go anywhere, that's the only thing that matters. His loyalties are to the Penguins. And when he was asked about the Four Nations face-off, they asked him who he thought was going to win the championship between one of his dearest friends, Sidney Crosby, and his head coach, Mike Sullivan. Sid and Sully. It's hard choice, Malkin said, but I think Canada is my choice. And Malkin, you were right. You must have had a crystal ball to see the future because Canada did end up winning the Four Nations face-off, and Geno predicted that correctly. So congrats to Crosby. Congrats to Canada. It really does suck, but at the same time, it's Sid. We can't be mad when Sid wins anything. It's his 9th trophy, his 9th world championship. Dude is just racking up accolades, continuing to add to his resume. And hanging on the mantle, Sid. Hanging on the mantle. Another trophy. Captain Canada getting it done for the Canadians. And, of course, Evgeni Malkin talking about it a little bit jokingly. Hey, I got Sid. And, obviously, Sid won it. So, let's move on to another Penguins player that's going to be returning. Because it's not just Malkin. We get other reinforcements as well. This is the time to turn the season around. And these are big players to help us do so. Bryan Rust will also return to the lineup tomorrow against the Washington Capitals. Rust has been out for a little while as well, but now him and Malkin coming back. Maybe that changes the Penguin season. That's a switch that you have to flip on. If your team is healthy, that changes a lot of things. This team, like I said in the open, decimated by injuries, and now they're finally getting some of their most important players back in the lineup. Rust and Malkin full go as the team practices resumed earlier this week. Malkin and Rust have both since been activated off of the injured reserve. As you can see by this graphic, Rust was activated and expects to play on Saturday. Malkin as well. And Jari was sent back down to the AHL. Blomqvist recalled to the National Hockey League team. So we got our goalie situation figured out. It's still going to be Blomqvist and Nedeljkovic. And then obviously we get our studs back in the lineup. Geno and Rust, two top 6 forwards that we literally cannot make it without. And Bryan Rust said to be available. That's the update from RotoWire. People that are fantasy hockey players checking that website daily. Bryan Rust, Evgeni Malkin returning to the lineup. Huge boost for the Penguins. Rust has been fantastic this season as well for the Penguins. He has 42 points in 48 games, minus 21. It's really those minus ratings for all the Penguins players that make their seasons look worse than what they actually are. This is a team that's 3 games out of a playoff spot. It is not over yet. We're going to need players like Bryan Rust and Evgeni Malkin to help carry us the rest of the way. Sidney Crosby's been banged up. He was 100% in that Four Nations faceoff, but he wanted that trophy. He got that trophy, and now Sid is going to be back in the lineup as well for the Penguins after missing those last 2 games leading into the break. So we get some huge reinforcements. Bryan Rust, Evgeni Malkin, Sidney Crosby, 3 of our best players. Karlsson looked fantastic in the Four Nations faceoff, building some confidence. We got our goaltending situation figured out. It's a lot of good things happening for the Pittsburgh Penguins right now. So something I needed to update you guys on. Got the game against Washington tomorrow. Four Nations faceoff is over. We're back to the NHL season. We'll have more content getting out there to you guys in the coming days. Really excited to be talking about the Penguins again and actually have games to go off of and break down, analyze for this team. Excited to see the black and gold back in action. So thank you guys for watching this video. Subscribe to the channel. Don't forget, and we'll see you on the next episode of Penguins Digest. Let's go, Pens.